Hi, welcome to the Nate and Dookie Podcast.
Welcome to the Nate and Dookie Podcast. Just start over.
No, that's going in there now. I'm Nathan Sharp, a.k.a. Nate Wants to Battle. I'm here with my co-host, Hunter Hughes, a.k.a. Dookieshed. What up, brah?
Hey, what up, brah?
What up, brah? What up, brah? Oh, God. As soon as I had something to say, the frog showed up.
Yeah, I had to get my frog out earlier.
Yeah, I forgot to defrog before the
defrog.
Anytime you're recording vocals, people ask me for advice all the time. Make sure you defrog because
it's your defrogging stick.
It's I pee and then I just release all amphibious beings from my throat. They just all come sprawling out like it's some kind of ancient plague. And that's exactly that's it. Anyway, so episode 3, we are in here and we're going to talk about whatever comes to mind, but we have the intention to talk about the fact that as whatever you call it, we are influencers, YouTube
enablers.
That's the
I
new
prefer
one.
Enablers.
Okay.
Yeah.
As digital enablers, our careers have had us go into some travel over the years. We've done conventions, we've done touring, various events, and we realized that they make some interesting stories. And this probably won't be the last time we talk about this because there's so many stories. And we're just gonna kind of recap it because we actually sort of came off one of the most interesting, I'd say, travel stories. Oh God, it's close to a year ago, isn't it?
What?
Yeah, from the last tour because we're recording this. It's like May or June right now or whatever.
In July. Yeah,
so close to a year. It ended in August. I'd say 10 months is close to a year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, time. I don't know how, but somehow time has become more meaningless. Like we were talking about scales, and I thought meaningless seems like it would be binary, but apparently there is a spectrum. because
yes.
Because it's like it's either meaningful or meaningless. It's like, well, just because it's meaningless doesn't mean it can lose more meaning.
True.
But yeah, so
it's on a slider.
Yeah, it's
just how meaningless is this?
On a scale of what's me? I don't know anything meaningful at this point, so I couldn't even think of a reference.
It's hard to make an analogy when nothing means anything.
On a scale of friendship to COVID time, how meaningless is it? I don't know. I feel like friendship's one of the few. Dogs? Oh, yeah. Man, that's beyond friendship.
Is that above? Is dogs the most meaningful thing?
That's tough. That's comparing apples to dogs.
I mean, I choose dogs.
True. Well, then again, that could be friendship. Dogs are friendship. It's just a different speed.
That's true.
I think it's more reliable for sure.
Dogs?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Dogs?
Dogs. So,
Dogs.
Well, basically, going back, we got off this tour at the time of recording this close to a year ago, and the tour ended in a rather unexpected way. It was the other C word going around, which would be COVID.
Coronavirus.
Y'all can't see it, but there was a fun dance that went with that, apparently.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, if you do a wave with your shoulders, apparently that's the official COVID dance.
I don't know. It just the corona part just makes it seem like, some kind of island getaway.
Yeah. So,
but it was really an Ohio getaway.
Yeah, it was like an Ohio get-a-in. Like,
yeah,
whatever the opposite of a getaway. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Go away.
Go away. So, we were on tour. It was my headlining tour in 2021. we had a 4-week run, and it was very, very almost like experimental. It was one of the first tours back for like anybody, venues, promoters. It was a tour that was booked in 2019, announced for, I think it was actually scheduled for 2019. And we pushed it back for, I can't remember if it was personal or logistical reasons, but one reason or another, we're like, hey, we'll tour in 2020. And then, oops, that was a bad idea. Mm-hmm. And then it just kept getting pushed and pushed. And dude, I remember talking to everybody, specifically in the live music industry when it first happened. And everyone was like, oh man, like we might be out of work for a few weeks. And after a few weeks, it's weeks. Like, we might be out of work for a few more weeks. And then after 3 to 5 months, that's when it was like an industry might have just died.
Yeah, we might be out of work.
End statement.
End statement.
I was watching a video when a lot of this was first happening, like that span, because I feel like everybody accumulatively remembers this time when COVID first hit. After the like 3-week mark and things kept getting exponentially worse, that everyone was just like consuming all the content they could about it. They're like, I'm just in here because of this thing. So I need to educate myself on this thing. And I watched this one video specifically talking about live music. I wish I could remember what it was, but it's been so long and I'm sorry that I can't cite the original. But there was this musician who owned a booking company and their specialization was live music, like jazz clubs, weddings, things like that. And they're like, in the span of like a month, we went from, it was actually close to a year. Cause they're like, in this first year, on average, they were booking something like across all their artists and musicians, maybe 10 shows a day, like 10 various shows, 10 various events every day between weddings, clubs, gigs, and things like that. That's close to like, well, actually that's like 3,000 shows a day, you know?
Jeez.
A year. My bad. I misspoke. But still, 3,000, taking care of 3,000 events a year is insane and also an extremely lucrative business, because this wasn't like artist tours like we usually do. This is for weddings. This is for high-end clubs. This is where a single gig is paying tens of thousands of dollars for like a few musicians to play for maybe 4 hours, and also at places where, you know, they're tipping like hundreds of dollars. Like I knew someone who played piano at a high-end club, and he would walk out of there at the end of the night with like $3,000 in tips because it's like a schmoozy fancy bar.
Right. Yeah.
So they're booking 3,000 shows a year, and then they did an update, and then they're like, within the last 6 months, we have booked 1 gig.
Oh my God.
And it's just like millions and millions of dollars in revenue for artists gone, just completely gone, disappearing basically overnight. So this tour we did was the first time back. It had been like over a year, and it was a lot of promoters and venues' first show back, to where it was like everyone was a lot nicer than usual, because I think people were just happy to be working again. Like, aside from a couple promoters, I don't know if this was the case. This is from what I observed, but everyone seemed like in a particularly maybe better mood than shows I had done before, because it's like, you know what, whatever, we're just working. Like, we'll figure it out. I feel like there's a lot more leeway. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. It was all really smooth on the like dealing with people side of things, which was nice. Yeah,
because for those who don't know, Hunter also is a tour manager when we do these shows, in addition to, being there. But I don't know. That was worded strange. I take that back. He's a tour manager on tour. I did that thing where I was like, how can I make this sound more interesting than I am? But basically, Hunter's a tour manager, so you handle a lot more of the logistical stuff than I see.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like from what I saw, things like merch counts, a lot of logistics that people get into it over. I feel like there was a lot more leniency. So, like everyone was, stoked, but also everyone I felt was a little bit worse than usual at their jobs, including us. Honestly, everyone had just been out of practice for over a year.
Yeah, dude. I was like I thought I was like ready to like get back out there and like do the thing. And like at first I was like super gung ho about it. And I was like, yeah, this, I'm back in the game, TMing, whatever. I got this. And then like the mental health just started collapsing. Like after a few nights of like, I don't know if I'll ever get a shower, and I'm just sleeping in a cocoon of my own stickiness right now. And by sleeping, I mean not sleeping, because this bus driver catches like several feet of air every time he goes over a bump. Oh. So yeah, dude, it just got to a point where like I was so like mentally drained and stressed out and tired and filthy. It was like, yeah. Maybe I'm not so ready for this.
And I think that speaks to something that a lot of people, including myself, encountered and maybe don't even realize, is that the capacity for anything after a year of basically not really doing much goes down. Your stress threshold is lowered because A, you're stressed out about the state of the entire world as one thing. But then in addition to that, your stress levels as to what you're used to coping with for your job have basically like reset. It's literally tolerance. Your tolerance for work just lowers because you don't work for a year. So when you're out of practice for something, your stress levels reacclimate to basically zero, and you come back and it's probably more stressful because everyone's kind of out of practice and things are a lot more messier. You have a much more stressful and impactful environment over a mindset that's honestly weaker than it was previously. And I think that just kind of blindsided a lot of us.
Yeah, we were not very resilient.
Yeah.
Is the word I would use.
Mm-hmm. So we came back to the store. I'd say it was definitely the most everything permitted, which we'll get into, in my opinion, the most successful tour. It was because we also had a new team going out there. We had different people who had way more experience on tour and tackled a lot of the stuff where even the tour before, where we were starting to like find our footing on how to get it done, these guys had done it hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah.
So that was a huge help. So big shout out to Tour Fam, to the crew.
The team. Yeah, we got so efficient with just like load in, load out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which was good because it was a lot.
Yeah, the first like 3-4 days of a tour is always a nightmare, because it's like, I think people don't even realize this, because basically you're setting up a small convention and then breaking it down in one day, and then doing it again after sleeping in a moving vehicle for, 8 to 12 hours. I think the average drive was like at least 6 hours. I don't think there was much less than that. So it was a whole thing. And where was I going with this? It was a lot, but eventually, everyone found their footing. Everyone found a groove. I always feel bad on tour because, people see vocalists and think like, oh, look at this diva just like on his phone while everyone else is like working hard. I wasn't allowed to help. Like I would actually try to help with load-in. I'd see like big boxes of heavy gear being brought in, and if I tried to take something, there were one of two responses. There would be a lot of reluctance because people would be like, okay, I guess you can, or like,
if you want.
Or they'd be like, no. don't do that. Like you need to not work until it's actually time for you to work. But, which it does make sense, because if you're remotely tired before you need to put on performance mode, then you've basically tainted the quote unquote product.
Right.
So
100%.
It was something I had a hard time adjusting to, because I feel immense guilt seeing everyone doing physical labor while I'm like, okay.
I mean, even for me, because technically, like, tour manager can help with load in and setup. And like, if the extra hands are needed, then, they should. Mm-hmm. Or if they don't have something else they have to do, they might as well. But there were days where it was like, I don't know, I got to deal with this thing, and I'm just seeing everybody outside, like in the hot sun, sweating, carrying stuff in, and I'm like, I'm just doing like manager stuff, and I feel like an asshole for it. But it was also just a nice break sometimes, because load in, oh God. Mm-hmm. But just, oh my God, like you said earlier, like the tour was like an experiment, and the experiment was, are we gonna get COVID? Mm-hmm. And like, dude, going into that, I was like, we're gonna get COVID. Like, I don't know how we're not gonna get COVID. Like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, we all kind of went into it with the mindset of it's not a matter of if, it's when. Yeah. And when it did happen, I think back on it, and it's something to where I think the timing of it was the perfect amount for it to hurt the worst, because it was a 4-week tour, at least in the moment. When I look back on it, it's like, no, that was great. But when it happened, it was a 4-week tour. We had 5 days left. We were in the home stretch. Like, we were en route heading back home. It was like, dude, we were finally like letting go of the breath we had been holding. Like, I think we're going to do that.
We're going to pull it off, because we'd never gone out for that long. Yeah. The most we'd ever done was like 2 weeks. Yeah. This was a month. Yeah. This was a full month after and even before COVID, we hadn't toured since 2018. So we had already had like a two-year tour hiatus. So we were already kind of like out of practice. And we basically came back and we hit it as hard as we possibly could. And we were like, dude, this is 4 weeks. COVID's running rampant. It was peak Omicron season. Like Omicron was hype shit. Like, wasn't it Delta?
I thought it was Omicron.
Because Delta.
Oh no, it was Delta. You were right. It was Delta. Delta was that peak shit. That was like the big bad. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Omicron came later. I remember. Yeah.
Right. Omicron was the one where we're not here to be a podcast where we spread misinformation. We're not telling anyone anything about health or what's fact. Just personally, from what I remember, Omicron was the one where it started to be like, it's way more contagious, but it's also becoming less lethal. Like, yeah, it was, man. And if I'm wrong on this, if the numbers go against what I say, then I fully apologize for that. I feel like that's when it started to be like the case numbers are going up, but death count is going way, way down. And
yeah, no, I think you're right about that. I mean, I also don't know anything about anything, but I think you're right. So then it must be true.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Source. Well, my friend agreed. So
my friend that I'm talking to right now also thinks so. So we're pretty sure.
My co-host said that seems right. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's right. It was Delta. It was the big D that hit us.
You got the big D.
And it happened 80% through the tour, where we were just getting to the point, like we said, where we're like, I think we're home free. I think we're in the home stretch. I think at this point,
it was like the last week.
Yeah, it was the last week, and there were only 5 days left. So it wasn't even going to be a full week. It was like, I think it was the last 5 shows, and there was 1 day off in the middle of it. So we had just like gotten into the final quarter.
Yeah.
So,
and then at the end, we were going to stop in Vegas, and we were going to have like celebrate end of successful tour in Vegas. And I had never been to Vegas, and I was so excited.
Yeah, same. And
then I woke up one morning and I was like, I think something's wrong with me. Dude, it was crazy that night. Like, the night before I realized I was like sick.
Mm-hmm.
I was just laying in my bunk, like, just, I don't know, trying to get my mind to stop vibrating. And I just like, dude, it felt like a demon sat on my chest. Like it wasn't just like that pressure they talk about. Like you get like that. I don't know if you got that, but it was almost like when it hits.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I got this chest pressure, but I also got this like weird, like cold, empty, dead, doomy feeling like inside me too. It was like, so it was like a demon just like was like, I'm gonna sit here now.
Okay, I live here.
Yeah, and I was like, what is going on tonight? And then that morning, because like people had been,
because I was just
crusty.
gonna say that was the day after Detroit, because Detroit was the last show, and Vespera, who were not opening, they were second on the lineup. Vespera had dropped out of that show because their vocalist was feeling horrible. And it's also the fact that he was my live guitarist, because Vespera was my live band for this tour. And their vocalist is my guitarist. And he was just like, dude, I do not have it in me to do 2 sets tonight. And obviously you being the headliner, that set is more important. So if it's okay with you, like, he's like, I don't want to drop, but I might have to. And, you know, I'm just like, bro, if you're not feeling it, then God, by all means, don't do it. Like, playing a miserable set, it doesn't help anybody. Like, all it does is add more stress and maybe will make you feel worse. So he was feeling awful. The thing with him was at the time, they weren't the symptoms to look out for. But I think that was also when we started learning that, like, hey, the symptoms to look out for now are just symptoms. Like, it can be anything. But he was just like,
symptom.
Yeah, because he was also insisting, like, he's like, hey, this is like every single tour I get sick. This happens to a lot of people too. I think it's happened to me every time. Like, you at least get a little bit sick because even before the times, you're exposed to tons and tons of people. You're under immense stress. There's a good chance you're partying a lot more and not taking care of yourself the way you would at home with a bad diet as well, which all of these are factors that lower your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just like, and he was like, this is the same sickness I always get, which honestly, it could have been that he got the regular sickness and that dropped him to a different thing. So
that's what it seemed like was happening to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because before we like knew that we had COVID on the bus, before we knew we had COVID on the bus, there were, few people was like, oh man, I just feel so wiped out today. And then they'd like be better in like a few days, or like, I was like setting up and I got kind of dizzy, but then like, they'd get better. And it was just like these little waves, these little periods of like, people feel cruddy for a couple days. Oh, everybody's kind of better. Oh, now these people feel cruddy. So like, I think we had COVID pinballing around the bus. Like, it
was definitely something.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. It's hard to know. It's hard to ever know. But yeah, so that was the first point where we were like, okay, there's a sick going around, and that's like kind of a bummer. Not just kind of a bummer, but it's like that's kind of
a bummer.
That's alarming. Alarming was the word.
It's concerning. It's disturbing.
Yeah, it really is. Because like, well, also that wasn't me throwing him under the bus for getting COVID. That was just like he got sick first, and it
I'm patient zero.
Yeah, it was just a cold. But at that point, that's when we were on high alert, because then you were saying that night you were starting to not feel great.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? What's good? Good setup for this story is the fact that this was when Delta was popping off, like we said. So tests were so hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
And we had one test on the bus, and every single time we stopped anywhere, we went to the drugstore, or wherever we could.
Yeah, that's good to put out there really quick. Is we actually did do our best due diligence to stay on top of it. It was extremely difficult. Like tests at that time were nowhere to be found. So we actually had a handful of tests on the bus beforehand, and we kept testing negative leading up to the final test.
That's right. We had a couple, and we were just like spot testing strategically.
Yeah. Because we initially wanted to be like, let's have tests for everybody every single day. I'm like, I know it's gonna, like, that's literally going to cost, that's going to be thousands of dollars right there. Yeah. But you know what? It's totally worth it. Let's do it. Let's just stock up before we go. The weeks leading up to tour, we could find like 5. And then we would check every single day, every single date. We would call all around, like every pharmacy within like a mile, because we're like, outside of that, it's going to ruin the show. Like we will be down a person, and we can't afford to lose that, which maybe we should have done like a 2-5 mile radius, but transportation
was so limited. Like, remember when we were trying to get like a horse and buggy that day to like take or like Jed and his tractor or whatever it was.
Oh my God. I want to talk about the tractor, but
we'll get there.
We will get there.
I'll make a note.
Make a note. Talk about tractor. Yeah, we put in high effort, and I think the lesson we learned is the effort was not nearly high enough. We were due diligent, and we didn't even realize how much more severe it was, and we knew it was severe. So we tried our best.
Do enough diligent.
We didn't. Yeah, we didn't do enough. Like, that's what it comes down to. We didn't do enough.
I don't know, because we couldn't even find tests.
I know. It was because eventually we did learn how hard it was to get a test. So that's just to say we did put in the effort. We possibly could have put in more. It was just so hard to get them. It was like, well, if we're calling every pharmacy within a mile and they don't have it, who's to say that anything within like a couple hour drive is going to have it?
Right.
So.
And like I said, our transportation was extremely limited, and like there were lots of cities where like you couldn't even get an Uber. Because a lot of times where we had to stop, if we weren't stopping at a venue, was just like some truck stop in the middle of like 8 Twigs, Nebraska. Like
Nebraska.
So like, yeah, we did our best, and eventually we were down to the final test. We had that one test sitting around. We were like, we'll use this when we think we need it. And then that morning, we woke up it was Ohio.
Yeah, it was I think it
wasn't Cleveland. It was close to Cleveland.
It was like Beach City, Cleveland or something.
Yeah, beach. There was beach in there. Yeah, okay.
Beachville.
Yeah, we woke up that morning, and we went and got coffee, and I remember being like, man, I feel so off. Like, and, you know, like, I remember, like, you and Aaron and people were like, it's tour. It's probably, you know, you got the crud or, tired or allergies. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't get sick much, and I can feel it when I'm sick. There's, like, this extra level of crud. I'm like, I don't know. I really think it. So we deliberated. We're like, okay, is it time? Do we use the final test? And this stupid test wasn't just like, stick the thing up your nose, wipe it on the stick, 2 lines means you're pregnant, like that kind of thing. It wasn't, for some reason, you had to download an app. And the test itself, the piece of plastic that you put your DNA on, had like a Bluetooth receiver in it.
Yeah.
And you had to link it to your phone.
The only test we could find. was like a smart test. And those things are like $50 or something. It's like, well, this is the only option, so we're going to do it. So
we had our smart test, and this one, it was an old one too. Like this was before like they were just trying to make tests like convenient and just fire those things out. So this one was one of the ones where I had to jam that thing way up my nose.
Oh.
Like they were like, try to get up there 2 inches, and I'm just like,
oh my God. That that made me sorry.
Yeah. Like you just like feel it in your brain, and your eye just starts like crying without like uncontrollably. So we're sitting there. I got my DNA on the thing. We got the app out. The phone is open. The countdown. There's a countdown. The app
gives a big like pink countdown. There was like a whole UI and like so much graphic design for this shit.
Yeah, like someone really got paid to design this "Do you have COVID" app, and so it's counting down, and so we're both sitting there with the suspense, and it's like 10, 9, 8, and then I can't remember exactly what we said. 3, 2, 1. Fuck.
It was I remember it. We were counting down, and I remember with the countdown, we were like 80% sure it wasn't that, because we were like, we have been so careful. We've been testing as frequently as we can. Like it's not that there's no way, but it's like it doesn't seem super likely for how many precautions we took, because other tours that had just started weren't enforcing masks. We were enforcing masks. We were everywhere we were allowed to. We were asking to show like whatever credentials we could. We did everything we can to keep this as safe as possible. So we were feeling pretty good. And then it was like 3, 2, 1, and we went to say Happy New Year and got like part way through, and then we saw the result and it registered. So it was 3, 2, 1. Happy. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's right. That's right. Are you fucking kidding?
I don't think I've ever experienced that much of an emotional 180 that fast in my entire life.
That's super whiplash.
In a split moment, just everything was different. Because
that changes everything.
Yeah, from there, because while this was happening, we had already started loading in for the show. So there was already people, like the crew was already sweating, trying to get gear into the venue. And I went into like just chaos control. I was Shadow the Hedgehog about it. I went into like damage control stasis. Like I blacked out, and it was like, Moon Knight kicking in, the personality that's just like pure efficiency. Whichever side of the brain it is, that is the only thing now. I immediately, I looked at you. I was just like, need to go outside, keep your distance. I'm going to talk to everybody. And then just walked out. And I was just like, everyone stop. And they were like, what? I was like, we got a positive test. We can't do this. And that sucked. That sucked so much, because we were like, all right, now we postpone everything and we do our due diligence. We do what we can to find as many tests as we can. And after like over an hour of calling everywhere, the boys of Boy Hero were actually the Boy Heroes. They found a place, and it was like a good while out too. Like it took them a while to get it, but they found a place. They're like, yeah, we have enough of that. And I think the only reason it was is because they called somewhere that was not a major city. So they were stocked up on COVID tests where people just like weren't testing. So they were just like, yeah, we have them. Come and get them if you want them. So they drove out there. They got them. They brought him back. He was like, Dan from Boy Hero was Santa Claus. It was a COVID Christmas. And he just walks up with bags and bags of tests. And then we had a huge like outdoor COVID test party.
Yeah,
to
I still
see-
have pictures of that.
Yeah, to see like
Everybody
how
like testing. Yeah,
that was an event, and it was just to see like how much it was. And you know, we're not. It's not that we're like hiding who got it. It's just I personally feel like if you get it, anything with personal health, it's your information to share, and not, not someone else's.
yeah, that's your business.
Yeah. But in the end, there were enough people testing positive, which, and we kept the threshold pretty low. It was enough to where it's like, yeah, this is done.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
This
Because
stops here.
it was key positions that could not be filled that we couldn't do a show without. So.
And that was,
Yeah.
once we got that, and then it was established that it's like, all right, tour is canceled from here. That was, oh my God, that was heartbreaking. Because it was that we were so close.
I know.
We were so close. We were
Yeah.
5 shows away. I was
Like there were so
God.
many points leading up to that, like, halfway, week 2 around then where it's like, this is hard. I feel like giving up. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can take this all the way, through 4 weeks. But then at that point it was like, oh, we're going. We've got it. Like we're there's no stopping this train now. Until there was.
Yeah. There's no stopping this train unless, this wall just kind of spawns.
Yes.
And
Wall
it
of
was
disease.
It was, once I did everything that was just like logistically, I'm going to do everything I can. And once the things are set in motion, I walked over to my bunk, I closed the curtain, and I just lost it. I think it was all the stress of the previous 3 weeks, and it was just built up. It was bubbled. And then there was the pin that is COVID, to where it just bursted, and I had a full on breakdown. I felt so defeated. I felt horrible. I was so sad. I was so disappointed, because then at that point I was like, oh my God, have we put other people in danger? Because like, if we have a positive test, do we know this is really like patient 0? Is this really the first thing? Like,
Exactly.
And I felt awful. I felt horrible for so many reasons. Like, it was a whirlwind. It was insane.
Yeah. As patient 0, I felt awful too, because I was like, it's like you debate in your head, and you can have the most diehard principles about COVID, which I feel like you and I and most of the people on the bus do or did or whatever. But you still have that debate where you're like, oh God, I feel kind of sick. If I test positive, then it's all my fault. And should I say anything? And it's like, well, yeah, you kind of gotta.
Yeah. That wasn't even like up for debate for me. It was like, it was actually like we were in the midst of like load-in, and, we were, because load-in's chaos. Load-in is hell. Like, everyone's running around, bumping into each other, carrying really heavy and expensive stuff. So everyone is working hard labor and also like being careful. So it's just everyone's very, very high stress. And I was talking to a couple people, and like the promoter of the show and stuff like that is like, hey, we've got someone who's not feeling good. We want to like COVID test. And some people were like, okay, we can do it in a little bit. I don't know if you should do it now. Maybe like wait for load in, or like after the show or something like that, and they can just like sit tight. And I had to be like, that I know it's going to be a huge financial hit, but that doesn't sit well with me. So I actually, like, it was when you and me were in the privacy of the bus, I was like,
Yeah.
I like snuck it, because like and our entire crew, they were all good. They're all very careful, and they're all about safety. There are some people in the industry that will always put money before health. And we actually had, a couple people saying like, yeah, test after, because, we want to make money. So we were in the privacy of the bus, be like, all right, take this COVID test really quick. Let's just get the negative results so we can like get this off of our shoulders.
Just do this guilt free.
Yeah. Cause it's like, honestly, it's weird to be like, someone might get upset at us, but looking back on it, it's 100% like, no, that was the right thing to do.
No. Yeah. I was actually very proud of you for making that call, and just being like, fuck the money. If someone's got COVID, we need to know. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, if we have this, there's no way I'm putting more people at risk. Like that. Yeah. Like the health and the positive mindset needs to come before anything. And it not to jerk my own horn, but not to toot myself off. Don't worry, I'll toot you off. Okay, cool. But realistically, it's like, if this happens, I personally take the biggest financial hit. Like it impacts me the most. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna let greed, I just can't handle it. And maybe it was the part of my brain that's like, you know what the right thing is, do the right thing. Maybe it was another part that's like, the backlash could be really bad. Like I personally am not entirely sure. And I just, I want to admit that. I don't want to sit here and being like, oh, I am this super righteous, like always do the right thing. There were the motivation behind it arguably was also selfish. Cause it's like, if this is something and it blows up, then I'm also like fucked in that sense. But also that was something I brought up too. I mean, it's something, it's a factor. Mm-hmm. It's not a factor. You can't pretend it's not a factor. No. Public backlash is a factor. No, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, like I don't care about the money. I like, if I lose that money, who cares? It's like, of course that matters. Like no matter how you break it down, missing out on potentially like a decent amount of money, that sucks. That really sucks. So it's not a black and white thing. It's just kind of weighing everything, and it weighed very much in the favor of like, you just got to know. You got to find out the result, and you have to act accordingly. You can't pretend it's not there. So, because we were just sort of expecting it. I think we were expecting it to be negative. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, happy. It was happy new. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Like the fact that we were ready to joke about it. Yeah. I think, well, then again, we do. At least personally, I cope with trauma and drama with comedy, but. Oh, same. I mean. But in the moment, it was definitely like, it's probably going to be negative. Hee ha ha. And then like I've been wearing a mask the whole time. We've been telling people we interact with to put on their masks, because I was down there in the crowd most of the time doing the VIP stuff. Yeah. And I was fully vaxxed. I don't know if boosters were a thing yet, but I was as protected as I could have been. No, because this was only like a few months after the vaccine was like readily available. Because I remember getting mine in like, what was it? Probably like April or May, and this tour was July. So it was it was just a couple months before tour. Yeah. Yeah. Boosters weren't even on anyone's mind. It was actually on paper, it was perfect timing, because the tour basically started right after vaccines were like super readily available for basically everybody. So that's why we would be like, hey, please do this. You totally can. Which, and again, we're not here to debate whether you're, pro, anti, whatever. It was just like, hey, this is just what we're asking for. This is what we feel is the best thing to do for this. So that still happened, and it still just hit us. It hit our bus like a truck. But then, which, if in the grand scheme of things, to get hit by a truck, a bus is pretty safe. Yeah, all things considered. And then came the whole like, all right, everyone who is tested positive, stay off the bus
stay on this other side of the parking lot. It was also so awkward because like some fans had showed up early and were trying to like talk and get to me. It's like, I feel bad, but at the same time, it's like, do not let how much you enjoy something get in the way of your health. Because it was people like this one guy like was not walking right up to us, but he was approaching as we were all very clearly taking COVID tests and a big table laid out. And we had to be like he tried to like talk to us. He tried to say some stuff. And someone from the crew was like, dude, no, this is not the time. Like, we're not trying to be mean. We are in the middle of some shit. You need to turn around and leave. And he was like, oh, all right. And it was like, oh my God. But then it was like, okay, people who don't feel good, stay over here. Everyone else, put on your mask, hold your breath, speed pack, get on the bus, grab your shit as fast as you can, and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, dude, that was wild. It was like we all just had to say goodbye, like right there.
Yeah.
People just got the hell out.
It honestly, I think it might have been like the most chaotic thing that's ever happened in my life. Like it wasn't even that it was physically like crazy. It was just so much happened so fast that I barely even got to process anything, because in the span of like 2 to 3 hours, we went from, we need to set up this show. We are in the home stretch of this tour. And like in the blink of an eye, it's just like, how do we get everyone out of here? Like, how do we escape? How do we evacuate this entire thing? What do we do? Right. Where do we go? Because, you can't fly. That's the big thing, too. Right. We couldn't just like fly home. It's like, all right, I'll book a flight and go home. You can't do that. You physically can. You can lie.
You shouldn't.
So we didn't. But like
we went to home too.
Home 2. Oh my God, Home 2.
Yeah, did you know there's a Home 2 now?
Yeah, Home 1 was so good.
Home 1 was too far away, so we had to go to Home 2.
But before we got to Home 2, because it's also like if you've been in contact with someone, you don't fly. So even the healthy people like didn't fly. Everyone had to drive one way or another.
That's right.
At least as far as I know. I don't know if someone like, just said they wouldn't. I was very,
at that point.
Yeah, at that point it was like it's on your own hands. Tour is over. You are no longer part of this crew. But I was like, nobody fly. That is fucked up. If you fly, you just please don't. So, but like I saw a couple people like they got a van. They're like, all right, we're gonna drive from Ohio to California. Here we go. And it was chaotic.
Like you said, like waking up that morning and being like, wow, we got a week left of tour. We got this. It's kind of hype. Like we're so proud of ourselves, yada, yada. And if you could just like look into a crystal ball and be like, what's it going to look like 6 hours from now? And we're just in a fucking hotel in Ohio and everybody's gone. Like, wait.
Yeah, we had to rent and with my personal here's my personal COVID thing. I initially had tested negative, and and maybe this was me trying to be too superhero. I was very like, captain goes down with the ship. So right. I too am going to go to Home 2. Turns out it took a while to catch up to me. But because we had all been in isolation and we all had individual rooms, and I hadn't actually tested positive for COVID until like 4 days into isolation. So I'm just like, oh, so I was late.
Yeah, you got the delayed Rona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was my Rona lagged a little bit there.
Yeah.
But we went to what explain Home 2.
Dude, it was just this hotel. I guess it was one of those like extended stay kind of things. It was just this hotel in Cleveland. I can't remember who, like if it was like a Marriott or I think it was like a Hilton.
It was a Hilton.
Yeah, it was a Hilton. And it was literally on the building said Home 2 by Hilton.
Oh my God. Yeah, and it was
I mean, it was just a hotel, but
yeah, and it was one of those things where it wasn't even really like it was a hotel room, but it also, had like a full-size fridge. It had a kitchenette. It was literally like this is a studio apartment.
That's right. It did have it had like the little kitchenette. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just like Postmatesing and ordering everything to
tour snacks.
Yeah, to our to our room. Like because it was like, well, we can't go out to places, so I guess leave it at the door.
So I lost my sense of taste and smell pretty much. Did that hit you? That was
what got me to let me try that again. That was my first symptom. Like I didn't feel anything.
Interesting.
But it was
because that came later for me.
Really? So you right, you felt the sick first.
Yeah, I got the demon first.
Yeah.
I got the demon, and then I got like just feeling sick, and then a couple days in, I lost my taste and smell, and I was like, "This sucks." Because like the best part, or one of the best parts about being sick and recovering from it, and just like staying in a room all the time, like watching stuff on TV, one of the best parts of that is snacking. And just being like, whatever, man, I'm sick. I'm just going to fucking eat stuff. So I was like, well, this sucks. But being the very scientific brained person that I am, I said, let's do a little experiment. Let's figure out what I can taste.
I mean, you've got the time for it. What else are you doing?
Yeah, if you're not doing science. So I was like, let's see what I can taste. And I had talked to my brother because he had COVID like just before I got it. And he said that like sour or acidic, like citrusy flavors came through really well. So with that information, I was like, all right, here's the plan. I looked at the restaurants in the nearby vicinity. There was a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Nice.
I ordered 30 wings in 6 different flavors in quantities of 5.
You had a COVID taste test spread.
Yeah, dude. So I really wanted to just find out what I could taste.
It's like a surreal dystopian Rhett and Link episode.
Yeah.
Like, will it COVID?
And I think it was actually very surprising results. Like the lemon pepper, I really expected to like really come through because of the citrus and the acidity, but it didn't. And I think the most flavorful one of them all was like plain buffalo.
Huh.
Probably because of like the vinegar and stuff. But sour gummy worms were pretty good.
Oh. Even though sugar also like breaks down your immune system.
Oh yeah. But I don't know, whatever. Like at that point it's like I got it.
What's it gonna do? Get worse? It did.
It really wasn't that bad. Like I don't have like honestly the taste and smell thing for me personally, I know it manifests different in every single person, but for me personally the taste and smell part was the worst because I really just kind of like I was just kind of congested. I was sleeping like a dead baby. Like that was some of the best sleep I've ever gotten in my life.
Jeez.
Like I was just out like 12 hours straight and I wake up like, what? Oh, home 2, right.
Oh yeah. Second home is one. Yeah. I think that's the only reason that I don't remember the symptoms being too bad is because I was genuinely sleeping like 18 hours a day. I was barely conscious for the worst of it. But when because like, again, I was in isolation. I was feeling fine. And then, part of the routine was like, all right, I'll wake up, check in on everyone, just like hop on Discord, see how people are doing and order myself some coffee. And I remember we saw one friend on tour who was like, yo, bulletproof coffee is awesome. It is like life-changing. It does stuff for mental, whatever. This isn't an ad for bulletproof coffee. I was like, hey, this coffee place I'm ordering from has bulletproof coffee. So I guess I'll try it. And I took a sip of it and I was like, this doesn't taste good. And I took another sip. I was like, this doesn't taste like anything. And I was like, uh-oh. And then I started doing experiments, grabbing whatever snacks I had. I was like, Pringles. Oh no, nothing. Like a sandwich. Oh no, nothing. And I'm like, let's do the big test. And I just drank like a shot of apple cider vinegar, which is putrid, disgusting. One of the things I hate most consuming in the world that I have to consume because it's so good for vocalists. Nothing. And I was like,
whoa.
Oh no. Like for ACV to not even have a hint of anything is like, this is water. I'm like, there's no fucking way. Because again, it's one of those things where mentally I was kind of setting into like, okay, we're getting towards the end of it. This was a few days into it. I'm like, all right, we're going to be good soon enough, blah, blah, blah. And then I, took an at-home test, and sure enough, there it was. I was like, whoa. And then I think my brain and body were like trying to block it out, because once I saw a positive result, I could feel all the symptoms, all the other ones manifesting. I was like,
yeah,
oh no, it's like I gave up. Like my body was manifesting physical denial.
Yeah.
And then at that point I was like, yep, it's time. And then 2 hours later, my taste came back. I was like, huh, interesting. Maybe I just have like a mild symptom, because it was gone. It came back. I was like, that's weird, but okay. It came back different. It was a little strange, but I was like, oh, it's coming back. So maybe it's a short-lived thing. And then another hour later, it was like negative flavor. There was nothing. And it was like that. That's when it was like for days. So, you know, in addition to everything else, it was also a dick, because then it gave me false hope that it's not going to be so bad.
Yeah.
It was just like, ah, and then just like punched me in the face. So that
coffee was kind of like my gauge of like where my taste was. Cause like for me, like if I must wake up and I must consume hot coffee with cream and sugar, and I must be disturbed minimally at this time. Do not speak to me until I've eaten this mug. And
is that a real mug?
It's a mug, yeah. It's fantastic.
I want that.
Yeah, I want it too. So coffee was like my gauge. I would go down to the lobby, because that's where they had the coffee, and like, oh my god, there was this one morning where there's just like a mass, like this, I think it was just one Midwestern family, but it was like 80 people and down in the lobby. And I was like, I can't go near them. Like, I am contagious. And so that aside, go down to the lobby every morning, make my coffee, cream and sugar, go upstairs, take a sip, and just be like, it just tasted like if there was a LaCroix coffee flavor.
Oh my god!
Just the memory of coffee.
That it's like this water like was in a coffee shop.
Yeah, yeah. What this brown water came out of this thing labeled coffee for some reason.
It's just, it was like water every morning, brown dye.
It's just brown and water. Every morning would be like, all right, what's the coffee gonna taste like?
Yeah, it was kind of your like micro test.
Yeah, it was like a little better every day. And then once I got coffee back, that was when I was like, yes, all right, we're good. Oh my god! But just the downtime, like I watched all of Trailer Park Boys, the whole show, the entire show. Then when you were confirmed positive, we watched all of Avatar.
Yep.
and still had plenty of time to spare. Like you don't understand how much time there is until you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, today's still going.
Yeah, dude, there would be points where I would wake up after like what felt like a full 2 days sleep and be like, it's the same day. This day stopped. Why isn't it go? And then there would be days where I'd wake up after like a half-hour nap and I'd be like, oh, that was 6 hours. The sun has moved. But yeah,
those were
time. That was like the second time where it was like time is becoming more meaningless.
Yeah, that really gave me some perspective. But it was like there was something fun about it. I mean, you gotta make it semi-fun for yourself, you know?
There's definitely like a meditative element to it.
Yeah, just being like this, like, because you kind of get to like wash your hands of every other responsibility. You're just like, I'm just here and I'm sick, and this is what I'm doing. For at least 40
seconds a time, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a... it's like you said, it's not that it's a good thing, but if you don't try and find some kind of positive from it, you'll lose your mind. You will absolutely crack. So it's like, well, if I'm being forced to relax and not have responsibility, I guess I'll just lean into it and be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Oh, man. Well,
I think I raided.
Huh?
Yeah, I think I raided with my guild in WoW.
Oh, yeah, WoW.
Yeah, I raided from my hotel room.
I think Home 2 was on a stop in Pokemon Go.
I was banned at that point.
Oh yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong, for the record.
Niantic.
Besides visit many cities in a short period of time, which is like literally the best way to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the bot flagged me for location spoofing, I guess.
God, that's insane. Yeah, because we were gonna do a series. We were IRL nuzlocking. We were catching something from every city, and then we were gonna bring them into whatever Pokemon game, and then do a series with that. And then you're like, "Hey, I'm banned," and I'm like, "All right, well, it's a not lock now."
Yeah, it's a lock-int.
Well, there is all of that. There's retelling this trauma. I think I needed to blurt out that hellhole that was that time period.
It's fun to get that. I feel like we're just so far on this show, on this podcast, we're just kind of like catching everybody up on all the bullshit.
Yeah,
that's gone on like while we've been not making stuff.
Yeah, because
you've been making stuff, but while we have been not making stuff.
Right, but at the same time, like you haven't been making stuff, and I haven't really, up until a few months ago, I haven't really been making stuff where I convey information. It's just music.
It's true. Yeah.
So a lot has been happening in a format that is just not told on an accessible platform. So I'm liking that. Like we were going to talk about like conventions and like fan interactions and stuff, and then we just got on like the story of getting COVID on tour, and then bada bing, bada boom. There's an entire episode.
Yeah, that was an entire, and that was a podcast.
That was a podcast. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening wherever you do it. I think hopefully at this point, you should be able to like listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you consume your podcasts.
Yeah.
And so drop a like, drop a comment, drop a subscribe,
engage in every way that you can bring yourself to.
Be sure to roundhouse kick that bell.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds hard.
Yeah.
You can just click it if you want.
Oh, that's true. You could just click it. But actually, no, don't run. Yeah, we will not be held responsible for any broken equipment.
It'd be cooler if you roundhouse kicked it, though.
It would be cooler.
It would be cooler.
Allegedly, it would be cooler. All right, bye.
All right, bye.